What's going on, y'all? I hope everybody is feeling good this morning and inspired to conquer your day. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump off into this video. And I want to talk about this Diddy situation yet again, because we have somebody new on the scene that is alleging that Diddy, along with Fonzworth Bentley, SA'd him and two under girls back in 2003, I believe it was. Now, his name is Randy Pittman, I believe, and he said that this all transpired in Atlanta. He was a talent scout, ran into Diddy, or whatever the case may be, was approached by Fonzworth Bentley, and things went from there. So what I want to do right now is play you guys a clip of a woman breaking the details and exposing the true nature of this lawsuit that Dexter has filed against Diddy, and then I'll be back.
So it looks like we might be hearing from Fonzworth Bentley a little sooner than later. Did y'all see the lawsuit that him and Diddy got hit with? Let's get into the details. So here we have Randy Pittman, who is suing Sean John Combs, Diddy, and Derek Watkins, who is Fonzworth Bentley, for SA, for battery, apparently to him and two females, on or about May 23rd, 2003 in a hotel in Atlanta, Georgia. Now, he's claiming that he was performing his duties as a talent scout for Options Talent at Lenox Square Mall in Atlanta, Georgia, where Diddy was having a fashion show. So plaintiff says during the event, Fonzworth approached him asking him about his job and if he knew any women who would be interested in attending an after party hosted by Diddy, and told him, hey, if you can bring women or some girls, y'all can go to this event. So remember, this was going to be an after party. So following the fashion show, the plaintiff was introduced to Diddy, who provided him with event credentials and the details. And Diddy basically told him, act like you're part of my team and take pictures, of Diddy during the event. He also says that Diddy and Fonzworth told him to bring two females who were there, who were ages 13 and 14. And they were going to be transported to the hotel by Combs' entourage, where the party was being held and where the apparently while at the hotel, Diddy and Fonzworth gave them alcohol, coerced them into acts they didn't want to do through intoxication, manipulation, threats. And Pittman basically says all three of them were subject to SA, battery, and other unlawful acts by both of them during the party. So now he's saying he has suffered physical injury, severe emotional distress, physiological trauma, and lasting harm. Now, the other two, victims aren't suing or haven't shown face, came forward, none of that. This is just the guy that's saying, hey, this happened to me. But I think the problem that he's going to run into is that he has a habit of filing a lot of lawsuits. Like this many. So I don't know if he's just doing this, well, for one, because it actually happened, or for two, because trying to cause harm, just trying to get money. I don't know. But I'm not here to protect either one of these dudes. I'm just shocked to see that Fonzworth is here as one of the bad guys instead of being someone who witnessed some things and now wants to, tell on Diddy. So I'm curious to see what becomes of this. What do y'all think?
I got a question for you guys. Do you think the reason why Fonzworth Bentley has not came out and spoke on Diddy is based off of the fact that he's implicated in some of those crimes that Diddy committed, especially in Atlanta? Because a lot of people in those Atlanta streets seem to think so. They are of the mindset for people not to expect Fonzworth to come out and really give his account about Diddy because, one, he's a victim. He has been victimized by Diddy and manipulated. But two, he's also done some shady himself. Now, obviously, I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm not here to say whether Dexter Pittman's story is true or untrue. Listen, he could have had a wild night with Diddy and been a willing participant, or he could have been forced to do some things against his will, right? So the two things that I take away from this whole particular issue is the fact that Dexter has filed a lot of lawsuits, right? And even though this is a civil case, if he were to get subpoenaed or whatever, Diddy's lawyers are going to have a field day because I'm pretty sure that they can find so many technicalities within those lawsuits that would question his credibility. And the second thing I'm focusing on, will this civil lawsuit propel the FBI and the courts to actually want to vet Fonzworth Bentley and possibly subpoena him to testify? Because everybody seems to think that Fonzworth could be an integral key component to turning this case upside down. So it'll be interesting to see the route that they take now, if they will subpoena him or if they just leave him alone. But at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure if they announce that Fonzworth has now been subpoenaed, I believe social media will go crazy. But anyway, I want to move along and briefly discuss Gene Deal, because he's being antagonized at the Diddy trial, right? There's this guy that's really going at him, right? And he was just saying some outlandish stuff. I want you guys to check out this clip and I'll be back.
Hey, Gene, I talked to Randy Pittman last night, a white guy that said in 2004, you was at a party with P. Diddy and you held him down with 2 minor. I did an interview with him on my YouTube last night. What do you have to say about that, Gene? What about Ryan Pittman? What about what you did to Ryan Pittman? What about Ryan Pittman, Gene Deal? I interviewed him last night. He said you was at a puffy party. You gave him E-pills, and he held 2 minors down, as well as him, Gene. I interviewed him on my YouTube last night, Gene. He filed the lawsuit, right?
I honestly don't understand how Gene was able to hold his composure at that particular time, because I couldn't. Now, I understand that Gene has to govern himself accordingly, given the fact that he is attending Diddy's trial, but you're not going to be screaming falsehoods out there and recording me for the whole wide world to see. Nah, bro, we're not finna do all of that, right? But at the end of the day, I think this is an individual that's trying to go viral. I believe if Ryan Pittman had an issue with Gene, he would have mentioned Gene in the lawsuit that he filed against Diddy. So it just seems as though that this dude is trying to get clicks and views, and he's going about it the wrong way. But anyway, Diddy's ex-assistant Capricorn Clark took the stand on yesterday, and she gave her account on how was it working for Diddy. And she talked about a whole lot of experiences that traumatized her and things like that. She also got cross-examined and really challenged on yesterday as well. There were text messages and emails brought up that showed that Capricorn Clark had once said that she had a crush on Diddy. You know, she also went through these horrible and horrific experiences with Diddy, but wanted to come back and work for him and things like that. Capricorn also name drops Lauren London, which was very astonishing. And she even gets tripped up about questions that were involving Lauren London. And so I want you guys to just check out this extremely talented and beautiful lady that's going to break all of this down, that's not going to have a biased opinion. She's just going to report what she actually witnessed. So with that said, I'm going to leave you with that. Don't forget to like this video, share this video, and if you're new here, consider subbing to the channel. I'll get with you guys later. Peace.
Trial day 10 afternoon update with the testimony of Capricorn Clark. I want to go back to the morning just to a couple things that I want to add for some context. Now, after the incident with Kid Cudi and Cassie and Capricorn Clark, she testified that Diddy said to her that he should kill her and that he should, quote, Cassie's face. So she was just detailing threats, and she detailed a couple more as well. She also said that she told bad boy president at the time, Harv Pierre, about this, and he said something like, whoa, that's crazy, but you know, don't worry about it. She also said, okay, so there was another incident that happened at Diddy's house, and Capricorn Clark described that she was in the kitchen with Lauren London and Diddy, and the chef was kind of, you know, working in the kitchen but wasn't part of this conversation. And Diddy said something along the lines of, you know why you guys don't have a man like me? And they were like, huh? And he called Cassie into the kitchen, and he basically said, you know, walk over there, now walk back, now pick this up, now give it to me, now put it back, spin in a circle. Told her to do all this stuff, and he goes, okay, now leave. And when she left, he just said, you know, that's because you do stuff like that, that's why you don't have a man. So I'm trying to think. Okay, so then before we left off, before lunch, I guess, I was discussing that Mark Agnifilo had stated that Capricorn Clark had a meeting with himself and Tenny Garagos, and this was in April of 2024 when there was an investigation underway into Diddy, and that Capricorn Clark had discussed possibly coming back to work for him as his chief of staff. And according to Mark Agnifilo, he said, you know, well, you're aware that he's under criminal investigation right now, so that job probably wouldn't work out. And he said, do you remember saying, like, if, you know, I was there or if he was under my watch, this wouldn't have happened? And she said she didn't really remember saying that. She also testified that she witnessed his get worse over times as she witnessed Cassie's get worse. And he also he also made sure to say that she had her lawyer present for this meeting, and her lawyer is Brian Friedman. Many of you guys know Brian Friedman. He is the lawyer of Justin Baldoni, Perez Hilton, among some other big names, Megyn Kelly, I think. So during cross-examination, Mark Agnifilo said, hey, are you sure that you didn't tell the government that whole thing with Cassie in the kitchen, it wasn't Lorianne Gibson, it was Lauren London? And she said, no, I'm sure. And he's like, okay. And he shows her a transcript, and she looks, and she's like, well, that had to be a mistake. I definitely didn't say Lorianne Gibson, who is a choreographer, by the way. He then elicits testimony from Capricorn Clark that she didn't think that Cassie was necessarily good for Sean Combs. She thought they were toxic as a couple. She also said, let me see. Yeah, they were toxic. Then she was shown a text that she wrote him, or an email, and Mark Agnifilo said, you know, do you remember kind of saying to Diddy that you had a crush on him at one point? And she's like, I do not remember that. And then he showed her a very not that old, it was from 2021, where she texted him that she had a crush on him back in the day when they first met, and referenced that they called him Chalk, like chocolate for short. What else? Sorry, I'm flipping through my notes. Okay. So, then we go to the Kid Cudi section of this, and this is where things got a little hairy, I want to say. So, Mark Agnifilo asks Capricorn Clark how Diddy got into her house, and they had this whole conversation about security guards and how this one security guard got fired because Diddy kind of demanded that he be let in the building, and this guy let him in. And Mark Agnifilo was like, so you didn't get his name, you don't know who he was, but you know he got fired? And she's like, yeah, I don't know his name, sorry. And then, you know, he basically says, did he point this when he was in the house? And she says no. And he says, well, did you tell the government that he pointed it at you? And she said, no, I said that he waved it around, and but that was it. And then he shows a transcript, and she says, well, it's wrong, because I guess it did say he pointed it at her. And then she talks about or we know that she called Cassie's burner phone now from the driveway at Kid Cudi's house. And by the way, Mark Agnifilo was very focused on how Diddy was able to get into Kid Cudi's house, or through the door. And he was asking Capricorn Clark, like, well, you're scared, you know, you're supposed to be watching him because you want to make this phone call. How do you not know how he got in the door? Because she said she didn't really see how he got in, if he opened it, if he, you know, whatever. And she just said she was so scared. And she also testified that during this break-in that Diddy came out back and forth a few times while his security guard, Rube, stayed inside. And sorry, she calls him Puff. I mean, they refer to him as Mr. Combs, but I apologize if I go back and forth with these names. So then Mark Agnifilo says, are you sure you didn't call Lauren London before you called Cassie's burner phone? And she's like, I am absolutely sure I did not call Lauren London. And they go on about this for a while. And, you know, she says, well, okay, yes, I called her before I called Kid Cudi. And Mark Agnifilo is like, wait, you said that you were so scared because you were thinking to yourself, well, what if Kid Cudi is in the house for this robbery? You know, you want to quote unquote save his life, but you called Lauren London before? And she's like, yeah. And then they go back and forth. And then she actually goes, well, wait, you know, maybe, because he says, are you sure that Lauren London wasn't on a 3-way call with you and Cassie when you called her? And you know, she's like, no, I called her before. And then all of a sudden she just goes, well, maybe Lauren London was on the call while I called Cassie. And so then she's sitting there thinking and saying, well, maybe she was on the call. So that was kind of a big moment that she basically said maybe her testimony wasn't correct. And then we go back to the And when she called Cassie and Kid Cudi, or Kid Cudi was in the background, Cassie put it on speaker. They said, "Did you tell them that Diddy had?" And she said, "Yes, like I'm sure I told them that." And he said, "Well, what did Kid Cudi say?" And she said that Kid Cudi said, "Oh, what? They're in my house?" And Agnifilo was like, "Well, wait, he wouldn't be concerned about the like that whole thing." He just kind of elicited that. And then we talked about the high-speed chase. That was kind of questionable. She said that it was very short. She said they went up a hill, and Agnifilo was like, "Well, the only way to, get off of that hill or is to come down the exact same way." And she's like, "No, that's not correct." And he's like, "Well, here's a map. There's a bunch of dead ends." And she's like, "That's not right." And then, when she got back to Kid Cudi's house later that night, when she went over there with Cassie, she said that ADT was there. There was a security guard there. She saw a police car somewhere. And Agnifilo's like, "So you didn't go to the police and say, 'Hey, I was..." She said no. She also said that in the summer of 2012, I'm skipping ahead, she was fired at that point, but someone from the arson department at LAPD called her and asked her about an alleged arson, which she said she knew nothing about to us, but she said she hung up on this police officer and didn't talk to him. And Agnifilo kind of harped on that for a minute. But then they go back to her vacation and why she got fired a few months later. She tells us that she was on vacation with Rihanna, actually. And he said, "Well, you're upset about being fired because you didn't want to be fired." And she said, "No." Oh, and he also showed us an email that she sent about 2 weeks after this, where she was just doing business as usual. He was just pointing that out. Then we saw a lot of emails and texts from Capricorn Clark to Diddy, basically from 2014 to 2015, basically her saying that she hopes that he forgives her. And that was a big moment. And she says this a couple times. And she says that, your grace period of being mad at me has exceeded, LOL. She also talked about, and this is before lunch, I forgot to bring this up, that she was actually traumatized when she saw Cassie's 2023 lawsuit because she wasn't mentioned. And Agnifilo got her to say things about Cassie, that she didn't think she was very talented. And she ends up crying on the stand and saying that, Diddy only let her go because of Cassie, and then hired her back because of Cassie, essentially, and said that she was hurt because Diddy only took her back, in 2016 because Cassie wanted him to. So she kind of felt hurt by this because, yeah, it wasn't up to Diddy. He did what Cassie said.